I told myself I was done, you know. Told myself I was out of the game. I've had enough. I was gonna take a break on YouTube until I was done with college, or maybe just the semester, who really knows. But one video brought me back. So for those of you who don't know, Asteroid Videos, somebody who I've loved his content for a few years now, made a very solid video on why he mathematically proved a billion lions would beat one of every Pokemon, or I guess simulated what he thought was the best way for Pokemon to beat them. And oh, sweet child of mine, do I have something prepared today. I'm sick, so apologize for that. Not only have I proven that all the Pokemon could beat a billion lions, via his rules, I've proven that 6 Pokemon, a single team, and realistically, 1 Pokemon can beat a billion lions. So why don't we get into that right quick? So if we see here, we're going to start with what he started with, which was the Tropius strategy. This one's a classic in the infinite battle situations where one Pokemon has to do something for a very, very long time. That is harvest Leppa Berry. This is a very consistent way to get one Pokemon to last a very long time. Harvest the berry, sunny day, rest. Now, he used a strategy that I don't agree with. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. But we're going to be doing Dragon Dance and Dual Wing Beat. Now, the problem with this is even with very good bulk investment, eventually the lions will break through. Even though we have rest, the lions have crunch. Crunch will gradually degrade our defense stat. So we need something a little bit better than this. Because over time, as Tropius defenses drops further and further, as we see here, as we drop further and further below a certain threshold, it gets easier and easier for subsequent crits to break through our defenses. And given the fact that Tropius does not learn rest, it learns doesn't learn roost, rather, it only learns rest in this front, Tropius is not going to be the answer we're looking for. We need something that can boost its defenses. And so that's why we are going to start the way that he talked about and the way that he set up his battle. It sounded like, to me at the very least, it's a constant battle, so we get to use entry hazards. Even if this isn't the case, I have a workaround for this that you'll see later. Spikes, Stealth Rock, Flash Cannon, and Toxic Spikes, just in case Toxic Debris does not get triggered enough through defense drops and crits, which would be extremely unlikely and would have to have several different attempts to be made. But regardless of that, Glimmora can set up entry hazards, all of them. Spikes dealing 25% damage to each of the lions, as well as the Stealth Rocks dealing an additional 12.5%. This will allow a clean 37.5% to be dealt to every lion entering the battlefield, which is a nice little bit of chip damage, as well as the fact that Toxic Spikes will help clean up at the end of every turn if we need it. And then we have Smeargle. This is, if you saw Glimmora, it has the leftovers, no Leppa Berry in sight, but Smeargle brings that back. The rest of the Pokemon will have the Leppa Berry. Glimmora only doesn't because it won't be lasting that long. We're not playing for it to last that long, we're playing for it to set up entry hazards. And we want it to live as long as possible to get some Flash Cannon kills on the field. And that'll just help to soften up the numbers. Nothing really else this 4th move slot is doing on Glimmora, so we might as well do something with it. But Smeargle is able, in theory, to infinitely stop these lions. It will have higher speed than them, thanks to only 4 speed EVs, assuming the lions do not have any speed IVs, as you see here, which would put their regular speed stat at 149. Even with maximum IVs, it would never ever be able to outspeed a Smeargle, and then we would have to assume EVs, and that's a whole conversation I'm not willing to get into. I'm just assuming 0 IVs, 0 EVs across the board for these lions. There's a billion of them, they don't need that advantage, and I think it's just fair to not give the lions any extra numbers here. So, the moveset that we have for Smeargle, this Protect could probably be replaced with Spiky Shield, which I'll do now. So we've got Spiky Shield to add that little bit of extra chip, while still giving Smeargle some time in case it needs it. Recover to re-heal, Recycle to regather Leppa Berries, and Acid Armor to counteract those crunch defense drops, and to make it so that you can live more non-crit attacks, more non-crit slashes, more non-crit crunches, which are the main 2 attacks, because we're not too worried about bite, because this whole team will be outspeeding those lions for that specific reason. Not only that, but this Smeargle does not rely on the offensive stats, so Noble Roar is not going to be battering in this situation. Just received a quick care package from one of my dorm mates. He gave me some cough drops, so I won't be coughing as much. Thank you to him. This Smeargle should be able to survive these lines indefinitely while they start to struggle themselves to death, and it should be able to recover off that damage infinitely. But just in case this is too slow of a strategy, I have another one for you. Now, this is admittedly the most BM option, as well as the fact that this option is kind of slightly RNG reliant. We've got the Klefki Lepaberry. Prankster isn't going to be doing a lot for us here, but Magician will do literally nothing, so we might as well have that extra priority while we still can. Recycle for the Lepaberries. Calm Mind for specifically the offense. And Draining Kiss for recovery. You see on this damage calc here, Klefki should be able to consistently one-hit KO the lines at +3. The only concern is subsequent crunch, crits, and defense drops, which you can start Draining Kissing early if you need to in order to get those out of the way. And if you really need to, Klefki learns Iron Defense, but I think it's more BM to just have the 3 moves. There is a way to work around that, but the AI might be a little bit stupid, so having it limited to 3 moves, you have that slight RNG risk at the start, but if you get past the start, you will infinitely be killing lions. No lion will ever survive. This is the quickest strategy. This is not the safest strategy. This makes it the safest strategy, assuming a human could be controlling it the entire time, just dropping an Iron Defense in there. But Klefki is another Pokemon that can solo infinite lions, especially with those hazards set up by Glimmora. Now, the second best Pokemon we have available is, of course, it's a classic. It's Snorlax. It's that Gen 1 classic Pokemon. We're going to give it that Lepaberry. Ability does not matter again. None of these Pokemon really have abilities that matter all that much except for Tropius and Smeargle. Moody being something that's just kind of here and will allow Smeargle to gain extra speed and defenses faster potentially, although it does give Smeargle that slight chance to go negative on defense. That's another reason we have the Acid Armor there. Really shows how little the abilities can do here. Immunity just here, just because none of these abilities are going to do anything. We might as well give it Gluttony. Don't think that even interact with a Lepaberry. As for moveset, I'm just going to drop Body Slam as the best consistent, reliable, normal stab accessible to Snorlax. If we could do Return, we would do Return, but unfortunately that doesn't exist anymore. Recycle, of course, we need that. Rest, because Snorlax will not die to subsequent crits. And Defense Curl, just to prevent subsequent defense drop crits from being that much of an issue. However, mathematically, there's a way the Snorlax still can go down over enough turns of bad luck. Subsequent crunch crit defense drops while sleeping, the Snorlax might eventually get overwhelmed. And that's why we have the Coup de Grace Alolan Muck. This is the ultimate anti-lion Pokemon. Ability doesn't matter. We can give it Poison Touch, but everything will already be poisoned anyways by Glimmora. Not only that, but Brick Break's just going to one-hit KO everything anyways. It don't really matter. Alolan Muck is going to outspeed, and the rest of this moveset is here just for those turns where it's recycling and where it's taking that chip damage. Rest is going to keep it alive. Acid Armor for the first couple of turns to ensure Crunch isn't going to start overwhelming us. Subsequent crits can be negated by Rest. We've got Recycle for if we ever drop low on PP on Rest, and particularly Brick Break with a lot of PP is going to be something that we don't even have to be concerned about using. And if we really want to, we can replace Brick Break with Drain Punch. We can drop Rest entirely. And at this point, we don't even really need anything else. We can swap back in with the Brick Break to have that double offense with a little bit of extra time, but it's a billion fucking lions. Who gives a shit about an extra 24 turns? We can also just keep Rest for those just in case situations if we really want it. This is the ultimate anti-lion Pokemon. Even if we go by Pokedex, Alolan Muck is doing absolute fucking numbers. This is the ultimate anti-lion composition. Even with all of the other Pokemon only carrying their weight slightly, things like Zangoose and Quaquaval doing a decent job, these 6 Pokemon should each be able to do their part in taking down the billion lion army.